Welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, me's to pleat ya. And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Ellie.
And
a disappointed Tyler Hymanson.
hey, that was like one of the scenes I went back to, and I was like, that guy was a douchebag. Anyways, welcome everybody, listeners, new and old, back to our continuing look at the Cheaper by the Dozen franchise. This week we are talking about the movie that I can never remember the title because it's so weird. It's called Bells on Their Toes.
That's Bells with an E.
Yep. And who knows?
Or two E's.
Who knows why? Who knows why? I think it's Bells on Their Toes. I don't know. Whatever. We'll figure it out as we go along. But thanks for being here. Thanks for coming back or joining if you're a newbie. We'd love to have you here. In fact, if you ever want to reach out to us, Elis, how can people do that?
Send us an email to sequelrights@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts, feedback, future franchise suggestions, and you can also find us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5 bells, one for each toe, goes a long way to having other people find the show and find our back catalog that includes such other bell-related franchises as Home Alone, and there's another one that we've talked about. Oh, no, it was just Home Alone that had the Bell Choir concert in.
Sure.
Yeah, that was pretty recent, too. Yeah. All right, well, why don't we get right into it? There's a real trailer this time, you guys, so I don't have to read anything. I mean, it's not a great trailer, but here we go.
Yes, America's beloved family, the Gilbreths, is back with a household full of heartwarming laughter and sometimes a tear.
No, Leora. I'm afraid once we broke up the family, we'd never... Yes, I have made up my mind. I want to thank you and Bill and Aunt Margaret for all your kindness, but we've decided to stay together.
It's the sequel to Cheaper by the Dozen that delighted millions of Book of the Month Club and Ladies' Home Journal readers. Bells on Their Toes.
Bells on Their Toes.
Is it that there's like Southern bells and they're on their toes?
I
mean, they're not Southern. They live in New Jersey.
I don't think it means that they have like jingly bells on their toes.
Okay, that was the thing that they did as a motion study to make sure that they're more efficient. They can track the kids.
Yeah.
With the bells on
I'm
their
against
toes.
all foot and toe related imagery anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. That's
But
fine.
anyways, I frantically texted Justin on the way over here being like, wait, did anybody figure out like why the title is Bells on Their Toes? And what you found was...
I was planning to ask you because I thought maybe you had read the book.
I meant to. You know the Marvel shows are going off Netflix on February 28th.
I know.
So
There's a lot. You got a lot to do.
I'm really busy.
Are they going on to Disney Plus?
They have not said, so
Yeah.
I'm worried that just out of spite, they'll go nowhere for a while.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the title to this film that came out 2 years after Cheaper by the Dozen is Bells on Their Toes. And the reason for that title comes from... it's based on the line "Rings on her fingers and bells on her toes" in the nursery rhyme "Ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross."
That's better than I expected.
Ride a cock horse. It says, and it alludes to the marriages of the Gilbreth sisters.
Okay.
It was apparent that in order to get rings on their fingers, bells would have to be on their toes.
But so it's like a play on words though, right? Because like the rings on her fingers, bells on her toes is BELLS, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So
so
I
it's
think
like it's a clever word play.
Yeah. Yes.
Or
I
maybe
think-
just a mistake.
Well, because
I've heard that phrase.
Yeah, the Wikipedia for "Ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross" has bells spelled BELLS.
Yeah, I think it means literal bells.
Yep. So I think it's just like having the bells
being
be on their
cute.
toes.
It is
They're bells.
a cock horse is a high-spirited, uncastrated horse.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Wow, there you go.
I was I
What if it's an uncastrated horse that's sad, depressed?
I rolled the dice to Google that one.
All right.
That's
It's okay. We've got more colorful adult content coming in the Child Star check-in, okay?
Oh boy.
Hopefully
Yeah.
no castration.
Well, I don't know, actually. I didn't do that much research.
So
Okay. Anyways, so sequel to Cheaper by the Dozen.
yeah, and so this one's
Cock horses aside.
there's not a single cock horse in this movie. So yeah, the first movie was a success, and they there was also a sequel book called Bells on Their Toes. So it's interesting that this movie is also getting to be based on a book. And not just like, these guys being like, I wonder what happened to the family afterwards.
Which has this book has a higher rating on Goodreads than the Cheaper by the Dozen book.
Yeah, they're like, finally, that asshole dad is out of the picture.
Which is either it's a better book or it's a less famous book.
I mean, I do think that it was a more, the movie had a more like traditional narrative structure.
Oh,
Yes.
For sure. This wasn't such a, vignette kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a third act dance contest.
Just like the last one.
A lot of dancing and a lot of singing for a family that had absolutely no musical talent whatsoever in the last movie. They sure picked it up quickly once Dad died.
This is how they cope with their grief. Okay, they become the singing.
They become the Von
Trapps. Yeah. The singing Gilbreths coming to a theater near you. So I was kind of shocked. Like, is this a musical? What's happening here?
Right. Well, I mean, it doesn't open, but early on, the Lazy song from Holiday Inn, which everybody knows I'm Team Holiday Inn, but that song is from there. It's an Irving Berlin song.
Irving Berlin, made famous by one of the famous recordings is Marilyn Monroe. Yeah.
Oh.
But they're kind of like, they discussed in the last movie how the kids are going to have to take over all the chores, and then
right.
Here they are singing this song, like doing chores, like dee-dee-dee-dee. It's really kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're all like, even the little baby girl is like dusting.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Which is cute. It makes sense they would do that and try to help their mom and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the whole thing opens with the device of the mom, now old, seeing the youngest girl graduate from college.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't know if we were going to flash back to them as kids or if it was going to be like, oh, wow, we really jumped forward and they're all old now.
Yeah.
But from a college that was very firmly not New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's probably like UCLA or something.
Yeah, no,
I don't
it's
know
definitely
what UCLA
California.
looks like,
It's California.
It kind of reminded me of the amphitheater where my cousin graduated from at Berkeley, but it wasn't quite the same.
I think it might be Santa Barbara, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, as much as I was bracing myself to be tired of the like, oh, they've got so many kids jokes or whatever, I did kind of like the like gag of her arriving late and then like all the kids going like, hey mom, like down the line.
Yeah, she has to say hi to them individually.
And then the one, like, she's talking and some guy in front of her is like, hey, shut up. And he's like, oh, hey mom. I thought that
would
was
have been
funny.
me.
My sister's trying to graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, man.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a funny visual gag.
Yeah, and the fact that the title is not Cheaper by the Dozen means they no longer need to like invent extra kids that have died but are there still. So that's nice.
This movie actually gave me some. We debated whether there was some satire or there was some other humor going on in the other film, and the dad sucked in the previous film.
Yes,
and all the dudes suck mostly
Right.
throughout this, and it's like, well, maybe that other film did have. Was actually trying to say some of the things where it's like, is it accidentally saying something at this point?
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, every
men are
dude
horrible, obviously. And this poor woman who is now widowed is left to try and raise these 6 boys to be decent people.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a moonshiner house assistant.
Oh my God.
Hoagie Carmichael.
Yeah.
American
Recast.
songwriter. Yeah. We only have a couple. We have a couple of returning people. I don't know how many are returning, but
Well,
the two main people are returning.
the 2 oldest daughters returned, and a bunch of the sons returned, but got all shuffled around with who they were playing because time has passed in the movie, but not really for the actors. And so they wanted the kids of the movie to be older, and they're like, no one's going to notice, which I really couldn't. So it was fine.
They did seem familiar though, so that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. So you're just kind of like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Gilbreth.
I basically could remember Anne, and the rest of them were like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Anne and Ernestine are the same. And technically Lillian is the same little girl, even though she really does nothing. But the older boys are recast, and then the younger boys are all juggled around. And there's a new little baby girl to be the baby.
Cute.
Yep. I mean, one of the first gags at the beginning is that Verna Felton, who is the super famous voice actress that's like the fairy godmother, Flora, Queen of Hearts, and your favorite Aunt Sarah, she shows up and is like, you got to split up these kids. We have various family members that'll raise them, which, sounds horrible to our modern sensibilities, but at the time was pretty common if you had a spouse die, because it was just like,
it'd be like a devastating
literally
event
impossible.
in that
Yeah.
time.
And she does struggle with trying to like make a living. Thankfully, like she's able to turn around because she's like a doctor. She's a professional woman. But at first people are like, screw you, lady.
Yeah. And she gets employment by mistake, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Because the guy's like, I thought you'd be a man.
Yeah.
Oops.
Just But anyways, she does turn it around, which is what happened in real life too.
Yeah.
And so she insists on keeping all the kids together, which great, good for her.
And the one thing this movie does that I think is fantastic is that it shows the stress that she has. It's after she goes to she's invited to speak at the engineering Academy of New York.
Drives all the way to New York by herself.
And they meet her outside and they say, yeah, this is a men's club. Like, you can't come in. And she takes them to task for that and doesn't, leaves with her pride, but then is so harried by the drive and everything else, she ends up getting in a car accident.
Right.
Yeah, I liked that the movie was, a lot of it was about her like fighting to, get the recognition she deserves in the community. But then I also felt like it was kind of shitty that it was like, oh God, she was so emotional, she crashed a car.
Right, yeah.
Terrible woman
women
driver.
are terrible drivers,
Like,
right. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I kind of
why-
wish they had just been like, she got in a car accident, it wasn't even her
Right.
fault kind of thing. But instead of being
like she drove into a parked car.
truck. Yeah.
And then and ultimately the way that she gets recognition is because I don't know if it was there's this newsreel made about them, and I don't know if it's like the guy who hired her now feels like he's not as threatened by her because he laughed so much at this newsreel and she was kind of more of a joke that it was
Didn't he make the newsreel?
Yeah. He
but-
was part of making it.
Yeah, but that guy didn't hire her. She got hired as a professor somewhere else.
So like I said, I didn't read the second book because of the Marvel Netflix shows. However, this story about the newsreel, I'm pretty sure was in the first book, or a version of it anyway, or maybe this happened to them multiple times, where somebody filmed the family doing these efficient things as a newsreel, and the parents were like, great, cool, you're going to show how efficient we are. But then they sped it up and played it backwards and played whatever that day's Benny Hill was. And then the dad was really angry and was like, oh, freaking, these crooks, from Hollywood or whatever. And now I'm mad or whatever. But that's essentially what happens here. But I mean, her boss kind of ends up being right, is that it's still like good publicity for them, even though it made
You're
them
on
look
the
silly.
same newsreel as Calvin Coolidge being real racist.
Right.
It is interesting that we talked about the Inuit song in the other film, and how this they can't be escaped at this point.
It really can't. So at some point, the mom has a gig, and so she sends them all to the beach house, which we were familiar with.
And it's like, I was like, is this where the song came from? Like, why is this happening?
Right. And so then they're all on the beach. They figure out how to steal food by capitalizing on the kindness of neighbors, which, you know what? Not a bad plan. Okay, wait. Are we going to talk about beans, though?
Well, I mean, we have to. But I don't know if you're leading up to...
I was leading to the Japanese Sandman.
Japanese
Yes. Okay, so anyways, they figure out how to be like, oh, we took the fire pit. Why don't we combine parties? And now we can eat your food.
That was so messed up. I kept thinking, isn't the commander guy going to be like, Wait a minute, didn't you guys say you had some Frankfurters? I haven't seen you put any meat on the grill.
Yeah, but
Like,
I mean, the bet that she was doubling down on is that they would have such good food that they would be like, "Oh, put your Frankfurters away.
Yeah.
You're fine."
Yeah.
Which rich people, I mean, it's not a bad plan.
It's like, those are German. Get them
But yeah,
out
then they decide to entertain everybody by singing a little song with
Little
their
racist ditty.
and he's singing the part of the Japanese man, and he's doing his, fra and all that like kind of stuff. But I listened to the version of this song that made it famous, and it doesn't have that. So it's like this portrayal like decided to. It's just like it's
like he has that caricature.
Yeah, the original song is like somewhat racist, and yes, it's like promoting this ideal of this Asian Oriental mysticism, but it doesn't have like the caricature of a Japanese guy. It's just a lady singing.
Yeah.
And so they added that for this, but then also like according to, the internet, other people were like constantly using the song to like be racist and try to be funny as well, even though it was just like a random song.
Yeah. I mean, they used it, and like, I looked at that too, and it's like, it's been used in like Boardwalk Empire and like other shows and stuff. But yeah, I agree. Like, okay, if you, I was like, if you listen to that Inuit song that we were talking about last week, which I don't recommend you listen to, but that is a whole nother level of terrible than this. But it still was like unfortunate that he was doing that kind of like little like caricature stuff on the side. But
this is all pre-World War II, P.S.
Right. Yeah. When we could still say Frankfurters, like which is here's a fun aside. Like it was Frankfurters forever, and it was some freedom fry bullshit, which is why we went with hot dogs and things like that.
Hot dog.
But I was wondering. It's interesting to me that this supposedly, the comedy of the season, fun family film is like really a movie all about these people like struggling to survive after the, patriarch has died and they have no money and it's just a bunch of kids and there's no way this, mom is going to be able to feed them. And like we mentioned, they have to pull this grift on these like beachgoers and stuff.
I mean, it's not like they were starving, but they really wanted, a nice steak. Yeah.
But they were, managing the budget so much that when they went to the grocery store in Nantucket, like the first thing Tom opens up this bag and it's just a bunch of beans. Like all they got are beans.
Yeah.
And like part of me too, this whole thing turns into like I tried to look it up, like, is this a real song that exists? And like the IMDb has like a song listed, but I looked at that song and it's not the same. So I don't know.
Oh, it's not the same song?
No,
the guy who wrote like "We Have No Bananas" or whatever.
Yeah, because there's a song, there's a song called like of his called like "What Do We Get from Boston?" in parentheses beans, beans, beans. But I listened to that and it's like not the same song. And when you go back, it makes sense because when you go back and watch this movie, this song really seems like it's like tailored for the scene. Like we went to the grocery store and we got beans, and Martha only has beans. I'm gonna play the song. Okay,
good.
Because
it's deranged.
It's deranged,
and it's almost like a fantasy sequence in that they're building towers of bean cans. Like, and yeah.
You got to hear this.
Beans.
Beans.
Beans. Howdy do, children, howdy doody do. Sister Martha bought some extra
Special beans.
for you. Beans.
Beans.
Beans for our breakfast.
And beans for our lunch.
There's no way this is a real
Beans
song.
for supper time. Boiled beans, soup beans, stewed beans, baked beans, beans rain or shine.
Martha never has ham, chicken or lamb, strange as it seems.
They had lamb earlier in the movie.
Whom we admire, but who doesn't have eating beans? Beans. Oh, I never tire of eating beans, beans, beans.
I feel bad. I feel bad for the girl at the end. She goes, beans. Like, oh God.
Our friends aren't going to listen to this no matter how much we beg them.
I know.
But I appreciate, if you're not familiar with Meryl Streep's Into the Woods performance.
Yeah.
You can look it up yourself.
I was gonna try to do about like it's weird. The sequel also is the origin of another famous Broadway musical song.
Sondheim
good.
was inspired by
so
Bells on
good.
Their Toes. If you didn't know. We can say whatever we want because
Song
now he's
about
not here
beans.
anymore. He can't deny it.
I just was like,
Oh no, Sondheim!
We actually
do it.
we resurrected. I was not inspired by that movie.
yeah. I would be really curious actually to know like if the book itself is like super serious and like, oh, this was like some hard times, because I'm like, maybe that was part of the reason why they're like, let's just have them sing all the time so that
Yeah.
it looks like they're happy during these like terrible moments.
It's
in
the
their life.
siblings who wrote it, so like I don't think that it is. I think it's still just a.
It's probably just a happy-go-lucky
Yeah.
thing. Like, oh, well,
We did it. We persevered.
yeah, we were still goofing around the whole
Because I think
time.
it's still it's very much like the Reader's Digest of like these people had this incredible hardship, but they came through it. And blah blah blah.
They came through it with bells on their toes.
Yeah.
I mean, there is like I feel like every poor family though has some story of some time where like there was only this one thing
Yeah.
to eat for some reason. I know my dad's family. I don't think it was rice and beans. I think it was something else. But there was like some period of time that for some reason there was only this one food that they had for like weeks and weeks, and they were all going crazy kind of thing, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah, so they survive the trip to Nantucket on beans and like one night of steak.
Yep.
yeah. And Ernestine gets engaged to the grocery boy.
Ah, yes.
Try. Or
Yeah, I thought he said ta-ta-ta, which I was like, is that
It's-
a thing?
is it-
I don't know. He
Tau. Try Tau. Yeah,
Okay.
Tau, Tau, Tau. Yeah.
Tau, yeah.
Usually it's Tri Delta is the one that I hear at USC. I've never heard of Triple Tau.
This
That's
total
even
Tau.
real.
This is the guy, his name, his character name was...
Towler.
It was like Archie Lynch or something like that.
Oh, God.
I can't find it. Al Lynch. It was Al Lynch, and he was like so annoying. This is the guy
Yeah.
who, at the beginning, I said, "Me's deplete ya,"
Yep.
because that's what he said, and I was like, "Fuck this guy!" Right?
Yeah. This guy sucks.
And when he left, he was like, "I'll squeeze you later," or whatever the hell. He was a terrible guy.
yeah.
Yeah, so he's
Everyone,
going,
every guy in this movie is terrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
he's going for Ernestine. There's another guy that Anna and Ernestine are looking at, and Anne's kind of like, I'm over it. But he's not interested in Ernestine yet, and it's the whole thing. And yeah. Getting engaged just didn't mean what it does now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just means like you get a pin. Oh my God, we're engaged.
Do we think there's any Ernestines in the modern world?
There's got to be, right?
Has to be.
Yeah.
Ernestines out there, we want to hear from you.
I bet you they probably go by Tina or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could see that. What else happens here? Anne meets a cute doctor,
Barber.
barber doctor,
Dr. Barber.
and
Yeah, it's a cute meet cute, I
Yeah.
guess.
yeah, he meets them, at the barbershop after he had just gotten his haircut, and then he sees them out on the street later in the movie. Like, I don't know, it seemed like it was the same day, right?
Yeah.
And it leads to like what I thought was one of the most hilarious and awkward scenes in the movie to me. It's another song, but like just out of nowhere. And we were watching the movie's only available on YouTube. Okay.
Yep.
Like, and the audio quality is not very good.
Not good.
As you'll hear in some of these clips I have. So he's on the street and they're like loading these bottles into their car, and like out of nowhere he starts just like shouts singing at them. And I don't know if it was like the audio, but like you couldn't really hear the music underneath it that much, so it was super awkward. And he's on a bike and he starts chasing them. And I'm just gonna play some of it because it's just really funny. He's like, just imagine a guy coming out of nowhere on the street shouting at you this.
Any rags, any bones, any bottles today. Bop, 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 bop. Any rags, any bones, any bottles today. On the old rag picture coming this way. Any rags and he bones
And he's
he
chasing
bottles
him.
today.
He's chasing them on his bike.
Taffy, just watch.
The same old story in the same old way.
You can't hear the music. It's just like, what? He sounds insane.
It's like this
Is that
what
a real song?
Yes. Well, I mean, according to this movie, as much as Beans is a real song.
Yeah.
And they all laugh at him when they run him off the road and he crashes his bike.
Yeah, that's what a drunk miner is like humming to himself with a rusty, bloody pickaxe.
I just like was watching the movie and just like laughed out loud when he's like, ba 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 ba, I'm like coming after you with my bike.
I mean, it sounds like a mean, like kind of hobo, homeless, like free clothes, bottles to recycle, or bones for a dog or something. I don't know.
Bones for a stew. You got a stew, baby.
Oh, okay.
You got a stew.
Was music essentially like free to license back then?
I don't.
Yeah, how are they going to find
I don't know
out?
how they did it back then. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal was.
I mean, yeah, they sing an Irving Berlin song in this.
Yeah. This one says it's called Any Rags, Any Bones, Any Bottles Today. Music and lyrics by Thomas A. Allen.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I didn't look that one up.
But yeah, there's tons of songs that we would now think of as easy public domain songs, but maybe then they weren't, or there wasn't a
cost all
public
the money.
domain. I don't know.
I'm sure they were.
But it was
still
basically like,
licensing
the
fees.
Dapper Dans and the Main Street loop on here. Has anybody seen My Girl and all that stuff? So.
Like Charleston and
All these
I
songs
mean,
cost
call
a few
you
bones.
Sweetheart.
Sweet Georgia
yeah.
Brown, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
There's just wall-to-wall hits in this movie.
Yeah, so it was weird that they're singing all the time. I don't really
I just
understand.
don't know why,
I don't really
especially because they
understand
made such a point of saying they had no musical talent before.
that. You know what? Actually, I feel like this is a good place to take a break for our first a sponsor here that we have tonight. Yeah. Oftentimes, you're maybe it's a little bit chilly outside. You're looking for something to warm you up, and you go to the kitchen and you're looking around, and all you have is a bunch of cold milk. And you know what? Our sponsor today is going to help you warm it up. That was Hot Milk 3, straight from the teat.
Jordan, I hate you. I'm coming for you.
Yeah, Jordan just sent that over. He does the theme song and these fun remixes for us. He sent that over this week, and I was like, normally we play this in like blooper episodes, but just gotta do it this week. It's a musical episode, so we got music.
I have to give the context on this in that there is a hillbilly gentleman from our Benji series. Go back and listen to those. Who this is what he does. He goes out and drinks hot milk straight from a cow's
I
teats.
don't even remember that being the origin of this.
Yes.
I think it was. Remember, he was complaining about like how all the food was cold, and the lady, like his wife, is like, "I want to come home and have a hot meal."
Yeah.
And then I think
Oh,
Yes.
right. Oh, that was like the third Benji? Or the
Yes.
fourth? Okay.
Yeah.
because he was like, "Gazpacho, what the fuck is this?"
Yeah, he was cold.
Yes. Okay. It's coming back to me. It's all coming back to me now.
A salad.
Cold. And then he like stomped out to the cow and there was an aggressive milking insert.
Okay, I don't remember that, but yeah.
Anyways, that made a quote, and Jordan's now done like 5 versions of this.
Oh man, yep. Well, back to Bells on Their Toes.
Oh, I was gonna say back to our second sponsor, Reacher by the Dozen, Jack Reacher. Amazon Prime.
Reacher by the Dozen.
Oh man.
So yeah, the main thread is Lillian Gilbreth trying to start her career, and then we also have the continuing love story of Anne Gilbreth and what she's dealing with, trying to find a husband or whatever.
Right. And I gotta say that, like, the story of a single woman in the 1920s trying to raise 11 kids and have a career is a lot more compelling than the story of an asshole white guy that's rich and being frugal for no reason.
Yeah.
Raising 12 kids with his long-suffering wife.
And yelling at doctors.
Right.
Yeah.
And being like, I'm smarter and better than everyone.
Yeah.
That was like the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, I think I like this one better than the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
shocked that like why is this one like unable to be found anywhere other than on YouTube?
I guess just because of that beach scene.
I guess.
Like, why don't they just
It's
cut out
not
that
even-
song and otherwise it's fine.
It's
I
bad,
think.
but it's not like. I don't
There's
know. I
worse
feel like
things
there's
that are
way worse
available.
things
Yeah.
out there. Yeah.
Breakfast at Tiffany's is still available.
Right.
So.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
the beach song was like the only thing I wrote down that was and I guess she does a little speech later about how she's gonna have a bunch of spinster daughters, but it's almost to dissuade Anne from, it's like, it's not. I don't think it's serious.
I mean, Coolidge in the Indian headdress sucks in so many ways.
That's just historical.
But no, yeah,
recreation.
I think I was just gonna say, I think that's real. I think that's real newsreel footage.
I
Yeah.
think I looked it up, and it is.
Yeah.
There's like New York Times articles with that same headline.
Yeah, they made him an honorary chief, aka please just stop attacking us, leave us alone. Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've kind of got the doctor in the mix for Anne, and we've got Mr. Harper helping out Lillian Gilbreth. She's getting to teach. I don't know. She's like teaching these up and coming executives.
Yeah, it's like an
in her
executive
house.
training program that she's running out of the house,
which is kind of fun. You
Yeah.
know, and she's apparently still teaching on Thanksgiving Day. Is that right, or was it like the day before?
the day before
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
So I was looking at the timing of this, and it actually is crazy that Sound of Music did come out, even with this one being so musical,
Right.
almost 10 plus years
Yeah.
after this movie.
Yeah.
So there's maybe some trailblazing happening here.
I mean, there's lots of other musicals though, but not so much a family of
Not a
singing kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like I couldn't really find much on this movie about like why it was made this way. Like why'd they add the musical element? Like there's nothing. There's just like
It was a popular thing to do at the time, and it was a studio system, and so you could be like, make Martha a dancer.
yeah
You know?
for no reason.
So
I think we should probably talk about the big. Was it Thanksgiving? It was Thanksgiving where they were having the big gathering at their house, right? And Al Lynch shows up
it
dressed
was
like
just,
a
I
pimp.
think it was the holidays. They were having a big party because, like they said, they're trying to marry off these.
It was
older
Thanksgiving,
girls,
was it
right?
not?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy came from Nantucket to spend Thanksgiving with them. He had the same car as Joe Scales from the last movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked better, but it had the same horn. It was the from Bill and Ted.
The worst possible horn you could think of.
He came wearing a full fur coat and
Yeah.
like he looked like a wannabe gangster
Yeah.
guy from like the 90s.
It looked ridiculous.
He wished he was a little bit taller.
He had one of those hats that kind of looked like what you would wear if you were in like a barbershop quartet or something.
Yeah.
Like
And he didn't do anything that horrible to make these brothers turn on him, but at the same time, the way he reacted when they turned on him showed that it didn't matter and that he wasn't going to cut it.
I
with
think that
this
there was
family.
some definitely some social faux pas for the time that this was released, and certainly for the 20s.
Right.
yeah,
Hey, baby, let's go for a drive.
Right, but still, like, yes, they were being unfair to him, but the way he reacted was like, nope, you cannot marry anyone here. Goodbye.
I enjoyed the sequence of them like plotting against him while he's taking a bath.
Yeah.
And they're just like
When a man's the most vulnerable.
yeah. He was so like, oh my gosh, another person in here. But I like that they like send in like one group of kids at a time, and they all had some different way to like fuck with him. It was pretty funny. And ultimately, I think the one kid Frank goes in as a cross-dressed as one of his
Right.
sisters.
Dressed as a lady.
And yeah, and so that freaks him out so much that he leaves and breaks off the engagement that they had or whatever.
Yeah, but she recovers quick. She's young. She's cute. It's fine.
Yeah, and then the kid.
I did like that scene where the mom's like, "Oh, she's gonna be devastated." And he's like, "Mom, come over here. She's fine."
Yeah, but then he also has some weird, like, there's that weird.
He's like,
moment
"Now,
where he's
you let me." There's some things you're gonna have to let the men do.
Exactly. I was like, that went too far. Okay.
I mean, it is kind of like
No, I
obviously
think it was
this
nice.
oldest boy he
yeah.
has to be like the man of the house or whatever, you know. And
Yeah, that's
I think it was a little bit self-deprecating. I think it was actually nice. Where he was
Right.
basically like, yes, you want to do everything, and men aren't going to give you anything, but like your boys, you can trust us to take care of.
And
some
most
things.
of the time, he's not trying to do that. The older sisters are doing everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Martha, for some reason, I guess maybe she just takes well to it. She becomes like the accountant of the family, and Anne and Ernestine are doing most of the
bean
organization of the kids, literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of nice that they're like part of this movie and part of what they're going through at the time is that there are certain things that women just cannot get away with and cannot, or without a lot of difficulty. And so sometimes it's nice that they have this oldest boy that can step in.
Yeah.
So
And I think that was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek acceptance of like, yeah, all the other dudes in our lives suck,
right.
but you raised us right.
I don't know, like, so we already kind of talked about the newsreel. I mean, who's not going to laugh at someone eating a banana backwards? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
That was
Who's
hilarious.
not?
That was inherently hilarious.
It would work today.
I was like, there's a moment in the, they're like fast forwarding through them eating dinner, and then they pops up like, and now for some real efficiency. And I was like, oh God, what's it going to be? And it was just like the same footage backwards. And I was like, okay. I'd be laughing too. I'm sorry.
There's a TikTok of someone eating a banana backwards that has 1 million shares right now. I guarantee it.
Oh, I thought you were actually referencing one you knew of.
No.
Okay.
And I thought that.
I don't
that
have a
was kinda
TikTok.
funny.
I'm old and it's scary.
Yes.
And I don't know what else. The relationship with the doctor and Anne.
I mean, everything kind of culminates in this this big community dance, which is not tied to the school, so anyone can go. And
They're raising money to build a gym. I think.
So the older girls have dates to this thing, and Anne has run into trouble with this doctor that she was engaged to because he wants her to come with him and get married, and she's like, I gotta take care of my siblings, and it. His feelings are understandable. This is a movie,
but he's
they
a
only
dick
have,
about it.
Yes,
they
he
only
is.
have 10 minutes to wrap this thing up, so they're not going to get into like a very nuanced discussion of these responsibilities and filial piety or whatever.
He's like, we love each other too much. We can't wait. We got to do it right now. It's not going to work.
And he does say some things that are like. That if you said that to your girlfriend now, it'd be like, well, that's unforgivable. Like, screw you. But back then, it's like, how much have these people really done together before they even got engaged? And so I'll forgive him.
I believe one of the specific things says like some families try to hold on, but like you have 8 arms. It's like an octopus.
Yeah, he calls them an octopus, says they won't let go, and in a very and not even like in a joking, cute way. Like that could be endearing, but no, he's just
like
he's
they're
very
gonna ruin
mean
you.
about her family, but we'll just chalk it up to lack of time.
Yep, lack of time and being a dude who really wants to go to Michigan.
He's got to go to Detroit. It's where the hospital jobs.
That's
are.
right.
Yeah, because people are being killed in the automobile factories.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
that Henry Ford's so efficient he's killing them by the dozens.
So they're having a rough patch. So she goes on a double date with this like country bumpkin guy
Yes.
He's from Atlanta.
Yeah, the cousin of Ernestine's.
He looks
date.
like a young 1920s Conan O'Brien. And I thought he sounded so funny to me because, everyone else, no one has like an accent.
He says
like
a lot
him.
of other dumb garbage.
Also, like, I was, the way he's introduced, I was like, is this some guy that we should know? Because, like, you see the other side of the phone conversation, and he's like, oh, yeah, my cousin's in town. And we see him sitting on a couch, but, like, his feet are covering his face.
Right.
And so I was thinking it was going to be some like well-known actor.
And there's not
Yeah.
even any
Someone
bells
we've
on his
seen.
toes.
I think they're just trying to imply that he's ugly and he's a country,
Yeah.
backwoods, whatever.
He's
But
from Atlanta.
I
Wamp,
thought,
wamp.
I thought he sounded funny, so I've got all of his lines right here.
Hello, Ann. Hi, Ernestine. I'd like to meet my cousin Franklin Dykes.
How do you do, Miss Ann? Well, I never expected to draw anything like you. Morton, I'm real obliged to you.
But Franklin...
It's all right, Morton. When you come to Atlanta, I just hope I can repay your hospitality in kind. But I doubt it. Shall we go? Good night, Mel.
Oh, Miss Ann, my mother always wanted to have a large family, too, but all she ever had was little old me.
Come on, Ann. I'll show you how they do it in Georgia. Well, I protest. This is the first dance contest I ever lost in my whole life. Have you seen Ann anywhere? I've been hunting high and low. Detroit. But that's in Michigan.
That is not a real accent.
No,
That's a damn player on the 20th Century Fox lot.
He's like, I can do a southern accent. It's like, no, you're doing Crazy Prospector.
Show you how to do it in Georgia. Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
It's like the southern accent has a long tradition of it sounded like that forever.
This is the worst
I do
contest
love
of my life.
that the Hollywood elite studio system are probably like, yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Sounds stupid to me.
Sounds stupid to me.
There's one part where he says like goodbye to
gotta give him a go.
he's like, have a good night, ma'am, to Lillian, and like you can almost like when she responds like, you have a good time too. I almost felt like she was like, this fucking guy, I gotta like interact with him. Oh Jesus, I'm above this. Myrna Loy is above this, but he's hilarious.
Right. So yeah, and eventually he finds out she went with another guy. He's mad. He comes. He apologizes. They're gonna get married because the mom gives her a big speech about how she can't put her life on hold for the rest of the family, and they'll be fine. Which is, probably where this was all going.
Then all the brothers starved to death after she left.
Now they go beans.
She was wrong.
She should have stayed. Oops. I did like the lead up to this whole like dance sequence and everything. There's this funny. I thought it was funny that like Sam Harper. He's gotten like close with Dr. Gilbreth while working with her, and he's clearly trying to like propose, like they get married or something. And he is just keeps getting interrupted by these like shenanigans the entire time.
And it never happens. It's great.
Yeah.
I liked it because I think like I actually bought it that she was actually just stuff kept happening, but then at the end you realize that she was sort of just putting him off by going along with all these crazy things all night long so that he wouldn't really have a chance to and would not, humiliate himself and ruin the professional relationship. Like she kind of lets him off easy.
I like the part when the doctor shows up and he's like clearly distressed, and Mr. Harper's like, "You got something on your mind, kid?" And he's like, "No." And then like he's just like, "You know what? Actually, I've got something on my mind." And he's like, "What the fuck?" I just asked that.
Because I didn't like that he was like gonna propose to her because she's clearly not gonna marry another man, and so
she's been doing it.
I feel like that movies today wouldn't be able to pull this off as well as this movie did.
Right.
I think it's and she has full power when she leaves the car, and he's like, "No, I'll get the door."
Yeah.
And takes and he's like, "Take this dancing trophy so you don't forget." And she's like, "I will."
Yep.
It's like, she kind of like not tricks him, but she like takes him through like what it's like to be her life, and it's just too like when she leaves, he's just like, "Oh, I can't do that." He's like so tired,
I really loved the shot of them in the car. It's a big, wide, old car, and her getting out and walking past him. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was wonderful, and I thought that it was as for everything that these movies have done and misstepped upon, I thought that it was a really beautiful and encapsulating scene, and that's the moment where I was like, yeah, this one is far superior.
Right. And it's very, it's a woman, it would be inappropriate if she was just like, absolutely not. But, she has to put on this whole charade. It lasts the whole night. They're going all over town, but she still finds a way to like build him up while
Yeah.
knocking him down, and,
Yeah.
and
So
making
smart.
him think that it's his idea to exit this
And do it with full
situation.
pride and dignity too.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
it's great.
So it's very deft.
I don't know about you guys, but there's like a dance competition at this, and I was just like, that dance looks tiring. I think they're dancing the shag at the start, and I was just like, that looks like a lot of work. I don't think I could do that. But I mean, the movie ends back with the graduation, and I really like that. They come home from the dance and everyone's asleep, and then you see like the youngest daughter awake, like. And she's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And she's like, "I just wanted like a water." And then it like transitions to her because it's her graduation.
It's her graduation.
I thought that was a really cute.
And it's like she's like,
Yeah.
"Damn, I got all these kids through college, like even the
Yeah.
baby." And
this was the plan, and then she dies. At the
Yeah.
graduation.
Yeah. No, it's just like Return of the Jedi. She just leans back and fades away.
My theory is that when she fell asleep watching the graduation, she actually died, and the rest was all
Yeah.
fake. Yeah. I'm kidding. They joke about her falling asleep during.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's kind of it.
Okay. Well, let's child start check-in.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
First of all, the real Gilbreths, I did find a website that extensively details everything about them.
Wow.
Maintained by a guy who is not related to them, but just is very interested.
Creepy.
We should have invited him to come on. But anyways, the last of this generation of Gilbreths was Fred, who died in 2015 at the age of 99.
Wow.
And the other one, the second to last, died 8 years before that, and then Ernestine and another died 9 years before that. So, Fred lived to be 99.
So we couldn't have even had any of the Gilbreths on our podcast. So
No,
there you go.
But
well,
some
the
of
next
them-
generation, they're private people, so they don't disclose who they are. Which I, of course, creepily was going to try to find out, but I was like, okay, fine. I ran out of time.
But Gilbreth descendants, if you're out there, even after that hot milk
Chime in.
sequence,
Chime
please,
in.
please.
Well,
reach
the
out to
thing is that not many, most Gilbreths have an A. And so, maybe I'll look later. But anyway, so as far as the actors go, we talked about Gene Crane. Did we talk about Barbara Bates? I don't remember. I kind of lost track. So as you'll see, as I'm sure you noticed during the movie, I screwed up the child star check-in last time because we talked about Joe Scales because I forgot that he would come back as a completely different character.
Joe Scales. I recognized him.
Right, okay.
He's a completely different character, but basically doing the same thing. As
Yeah,
the
but
last
now
movie.
dating Martha, which is somewhat creepy because she was like 9 years old or whatever in the last movie.
Yeah.
But he still looks exactly the same, which we talked about. It hurt his career because he did not age. So anyway, Ernestine, Barbara Bates, she was in both films. She continued acting for a while, but then her career really declined badly because she had like a lot of mental health problems. And did I talk about this last time?
I think so.
Okay, anyways.
Yes.
She died at the age of 43.
yes,
She
yes,
committed suicide with carbon monoxide. Okay, so Deborah Paget, who played Martha only in this movie, she is a pretty famous actress. She was in Ten Commandments and Love Me Tender.
So she wasn't in Batman versus Superman
No.
as Martha.
Got it. Okay. I was like, what is this show? You're like, right.
Wait for it.
I got you. Okay, but at some point she became a very radical, born-again Christian. She had her own show on the Christian broadcasting channel
The Righteous
or whatever.
Gemstones.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was married a couple of times, but interestingly, one of her marriages was to the son of the former, maybe he was current at the time, but the son of the premier of China. Like, so she married a full-on Chinese guy named Kung Li Che and had a son with him. And, she's still alive now. She's 88.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because she had some racist roles where she was playing like an Indian princess and all these things, but she married one of her husbands was a Mexican filmmaker, and then her other husband was this Chinese political royalty guy. So
Interesting.
yeah. So that's Deborah Paget. Robert Arthur, who played Frank Jr. in this one only, he quit acting in 1960. At the same time that he was doing all of his acting, he was also doing a big career in radio. And even though he eventually was pretty much known as a confirmed bachelor as well, he did date Ava Gardner and Joshua Gabor at different times.
Whoa.
So,
All right.
yeah, but he never married. He never had any kids. And then in 1960, he quit acting and became an insurance agent. And then he got involved in politics and became an advocate for gay rights and for like taking care of gay senior citizens, like who had nowhere to turn, had no family, whatever. And then he, I guess, unfortunately, became part of the Log Cabin Republicans. And then around the 90s, he started acting again in porn. But in specifically, it says non-sexual role, like next to all the porns that he did. So I think he must have been a guy that walked in and was like, "What's going on in here?"
Or he was like the pizza dispatcher.
Yeah,
he was like, "You're gonna go to this address."
I saw ones that said like Dr. So-and-so or like so-and-so attorney at law. So he would walk in and be like, I don't know, "You're suing each other," and then leave the room, and then something would happen. I don't know.
That's such an interesting, like, gay elder care. Do you know what date that was?
I think it was in the 80s and 90s.
Wow. I mean, what an issue. I mean, it had to be huge. And then the Log Cabin Republicans after that.
Right. And then in 1991, his second to last role, he officiated the wedding of Uncle Jesse and Aunt Becky on Full House.
What?
So I don't know how. I don't know who he knew. Why they because he wasn't doing really any other acting at that time other than non-sexual roles in porn.
Do you think that he thought that it was a porno?
Maybe.
And he was disappointed.
Full House.
I don't know. I mean, he must have known someone who was like, "Hey, just come in and do this. It'll be fun." You know,
man.
like so.
That's a man.
Yeah.
That's a biopic right there.
So he died in 2008 at the age of 83. So Tommy Ivo, who was Bill in this movie, he is still alive. He's 85. And after he, somewhat concurrently, but after his acting career, he became a famous, I don't know, drag racer and was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame in 2005.
Wow.
That's cool.
Sweet.
So
I was hoping for drag queen.
I know. When you said drag, I was like,
drag racing. And he had lots of awards and all sorts of things. So I don't know anything about that world, but he was apparently famous.
Cool.
Carol Nugent is the one who played Lillian in both movies and was allowed to age regularly.
Take that, Hollywood system.
Right. She's still alive. She's 84.
Nice.
She married Nick Adams, who I guess was most famous for being James Dean's friend.
Okay.
And he was in a lot of things
On-screen
too.
friend or just being like...
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they were friends in real life, and their marriage was all over the then tabloids or gossip columns or whatever. And they were gonna get divorced, but before they could get divorced, he died from a drug overdose from drugs that were like assigned, that were prescribed to him for like a condition. He OD'd on them.
Doctors were bad.
Right, exactly. And then she married this guy, James Stevens, who was a property master for 20th Century. And he, his marriage before her was to one of the girls who played a bit part in this movie as like a girl standing next to Jane on the stage at the graduation.
Weird.
He was married to her. And then many, many years later got married to Carol Nugent, who was Lillian.
Oh, weird.
So
Crazy.
I don't know. Jimmy Hunt is Fred in this movie. He was previously William in the past movie. He is still alive. He's 82 years old, and he's most famous for his role in Invaders from Mars. Don't know what that is, but as you know, the more common the name, I like James Hunt. Like, forget it. How am I going to find anything else on him that's not IMDb?
John Ketchup.
Right. So Anthony Sidus, who was Dan and was previously Fred, he was also in Miracle on 34th Street. After acting, he went to Vietnam. He got a Purple Heart, and then he became a wealthy auctioneer. Like, he got into the auctioneering business. Which I guess makes sense if you're an actor and you're well-spoken and you can do all the auctioneer stuff.
Thank you for your service.
Right. And then he died in 2015 at the age of 74. He had 3 kids and 9 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
At the time of his death.
I have a quick update on Invaders from Mars. It is a Tobe Hooper movie, which is a Poltergeist throwback there. But that's strange, and I need to see this movie now.
Okay. Teddy Driver was Jack. He was previously Dan.
So
he is maybe still alive. If he is, he is 79 years old, and that's all I got because Theodore Driver.
We don't know where the money's buried. You're
right.
safe.
And finally, Tina Thompson, who played Jane, the littlest redheaded girl in this one. All I got was that she's alive, she's married to an Italian guy, and she's 76 years old.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's it for this Child Star Check-In. I'm sure this is only going to get more stressful as these movies go on.
The end.
What is this, Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, well, awesome. I mean, that's crazy. I can't believe you did all that research. We applaud you.
Nothing this week beats the guy who died in the helicopter crash where his son climbed down from the snowy mountain.
Really nothing. Yeah, that's the most
true.
incredible
That
one.
is insane. Yeah.
His son is essentially Iron Fist, which I only realized because I've spent the last few weeks binging these Netflix shows.
Oh, man.
Well, I guess I have to ask, how many cans in your bean tower would you give Bells on Their Toes?
Bells on their toes. Bells on their toes.
Well, I mean, I might have gone too high last week, but I have to go higher than that. So I'll say 5 beans. Yeah. Cans of beans. Beans.
Yeah, I feel like I was in like the 5 or 6 territory. I think 5 just because like, you know, it's still like
fine.
Yeah.
Still got racist check marks
it's
bumping
still,
it down.
You know, last week I was like, this is a movie, it's too old fashioned. This one's like still old fashioned, but it's not as bad. I don't think. I think there's some interesting stuff, as far as Dr. Gilbreth, Lillian trying to kind of like make her own life. Yeah. And I think a lot of that stuff is good. And it really gives her a chance to shine in this movie compared to the last one. I thought it had some good stuff. The singing was weird. The singing was a little weird.
Rags and bottles. May that haunt your nightmares.
Bottles today.
I will also go 5 can of beans. I think that it was a much more enjoyable watch than last week. It's actually a movie. And it was totally fine.
Yeah.
It has problems, but there's not morality that I can cast upon it. And I think that the pros far outweigh the cons in terms of what this movie's trying to do. And I wouldn't say I enjoyed the experience, but I enjoyed it more than last week's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, I thought it was interesting to watch such old sequels,
Yes.
It made me appreciate Myrna Loy more,
Yeah,
I think, because
absolutely.
she really carried this one.
Yes.
Whereas the other one, she was just kind of like, dealing with her husband. It was obnoxious.
Dealing with some shitty dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, oh, guy, whatever your name was. I already forgot oh, husband.
Oh, heart problem.
Frank. Yes,
Yeah, I think it was Frank.
It is Frank.
Yeah, because Frank Jr. is.
His photo is haunting this movie all over the
Yes, everywhere. And the movie ends with them all driving down the road to hell.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, well, I think that's the end of the old, super old, Cheaper by the Dozen movies.
That's right.
We're gonna fast forward multiple generations all the way to
another old Cheaper by the Dozen.
Wait, I have a question first, though. Would you want to see the story of the Gilbreths rebooted as a Cheaper by the Dozen that was like more true to the real
Like a
story.
period piece?
Either a period piece or like, well, I guess we're going to find out how close the Steve Martin one is.
I would like to see the Greta Gerwig version of like the period piece of after the dad dies and the mom dealing with all the kids.
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it would be if they completely redid it nowadays. I think that people would maybe find more interesting stories in like what the kids are dealing with as apart from the parents. Like this one is all like, oh, we have to, the parents are there, and then we have to have like a romance, because it's these old fashioned movies where it's got to be like a romance. So we're all mostly dealing with like the older daughters, and
also for better and for worse, child actors were not necessarily professional. They're back then.
They're a lot better now, and I think it would be interesting to see more of those dynamics and what the kids are going through as opposed to the parents, because like I don't know, who cares?
Well, let's get writing, guys.
Let's get it.
I'm ready to pitch this.
Yeah. But as far as next week, we go all the way to 2003 for the Sean Levy film Cheaper by the Dozen, starring Steve Martin and Bonnie Hunt.
Is this our first Steve Martin?
I think it's our first Steve Martin.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Steve Martin's great.
But Bonnie Hunt was the Beethoven mom, right?
This is,
I believe so.
Okay,
not our first Bonnie Hunt.
Yeah. Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
I have seen both of them.
I feel like I've seen it. I just don't remember anything about it because I feel like this was at a time where it was like, Tom Welling, let's go to the theater because was a nerdy,
I think these
probably
were
freshman in high school or something like that.
This movie was out while I was working at theater, so I definitely saw it, and it was a big, holiday Christmas family movie. So I'm sure we all went as a family,
right? And I remember Tom Welling I know is in it, and I guess Piper Pear was in it. I don't remember if she was one of the kids or she's like his girlfriend, but Lizzie McGuire is for sure in it. Yeah. And then the kids from Mike's Super Short Show are in it. Like, so the girl from Step Up, the Missy Elliott girl. I can't remember her name right now, but yeah. Yeah. Lots of big names in this one. And, it's going to be interesting to see, a more modern take on this story. 2003, not quite as modern anymore, but still at the point where it's modern enough that having that many kids is probably going to be seen as irresponsible by the people around them, as opposed to back then when it was. And they're going to have cell phones. I just looked up the Christmas releases for 2003, and I definitely took my parents to see Big Fish instead of Big Fish. Ewan McGregor, let's go to theaters. Gotta go. But then I also saw Paycheck. So. Yes, classic. Well, cool. So we'll be back next week at Cheaper by the Dozen 2003. But in the meantime, Eliz, where can people reach out to us? You can email us, sequelrights@gmail.com, or find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights. And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars goes a long way to helping other people get 5 bells on their toes. And Ernestines, we want to hear from you. That's right.
We're sorry to see you go. We're sorry to see you go. We hope that you'll never come back. We're sorry to see you go.
Okay, but we don't fully agree with the sentiment of the Gilbreth children there. We do want you to come back. We are sorry to see you. Unless you're dressed like a pimp. Right. Yeah. Don't come back. But we don't know what you're dressed like. I mean, even then, that's fine. It's fine. We love you. All right, we'll see you guys next week for Cheaper by the Dozen 2003.